Well, howdy, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. I'm pulling my hair out. Wait, I don't have any hair. I would be. I need a new server. What am I to do? Well, what I was going to do was buy a new Dell well, new to me, new used Dell R620 server. But I'm the king of cheap, and frankly, I don't want to spend the money right now, especially with what's going on in the world, right? So I'm stealing money away like a little squirrel for now. But you know what? I have that Dell R720 in there, and I need another server for my VMware lab. And I got to thinking to myself, because that's who I am, what about if we turned that Dell R720 into two servers instead of one server, two instead of one, and dual boot between VMware and Hyper-V. So that's what we're going to be doing today. But first, I need to move some virtual, because this is my daily driver server. I need to move those tasks over to the Dell R710. Namely, I've got some virtual machines that are up and running. I've got my Blue Iris surveillance, and I've got LANsweeper all running on that Dell R720. That has to be moved over to the 710, and then we can install VMware. Boy, I'm already tired. I don't know about you. So let's get the video started right now. I'm going to warn you in advance, it's going to be a bit of a long one. So the goal is to try to get these virtual machines then off of this Dell R720 hypervisor machine onto the Dell 710, R710 low power unit. So now these also have, if we look at the virtual machines, so if I come here to settings, you'll also notice that they're using shared storage on the iDrive. The iDrive is the iSCSI drive that I created on the Synology flash station FS1018. So let's just give it a try. So the first one I want to do is my Windows 7 machine, so I want to move that. We're going to move the virtual machine, and we're going to put that on Dell 710-LP, I believe. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. So we're going to move the virtual machine's data to a single location. Next. And we're going to put that on the P drive under Hyper-V. Select folder. Next. Click on Finish. And it's either going to run and it's going to be successful, or it's going to not be successful. Okay. No credentials are available in the security package. Failed to authenticate. No suitable credentials. Okay. So I like to record my mistakes along with my successes. And what it turned out to be is normally I use Cred SSP. In fact, let me bring up the other server and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you right click under here and go to Hyper-V settings and go to live migrations, normally I use credential SSP. But for whatever reason, you saw that error message it was giving me. So what I did on both of the Hyper-V machines is I switched it to use Kerberos. Now that I've done that, it appears to be working. Let's see if it's still moving the virtual machine. Yeah, and you can actually see data going across on the 10 gig Ethernet over to the other machine. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll do another one here in a second. I'll move my Plus server and then I'll move my PBX. And the other thing sometimes that you have to do, let me come here on this machine, go to settings. If you get any errors on the processor, sometimes you have to flip this little switch here, migrate to physical computer with different processor version. Sometimes you'll have to flip that, but we'll see how that goes. So yes, success. So now let's try to move our PBX server We're going to right click on it. We're going to move, go to next. We're going to move the virtual machine. We're going to move it over to the Dell. Click on check name. This also tells us our Active Directory is working. We're going to move it over to the Dell 710 low power. Tell it OK. Next. We're going to move it to a single location, and we're going to move that data to drive P, Hyper-V. Select that folder. It's only 8 gig. Next, click on Finish. We'll need to reconnect it to this 10 gig virtual network connection on the other server. Click on Next. Click on Finish. And let's bring up Task Manager, and we see some data going across the network. So well, hopefully that'll work. So yeah, that was a stunning success. So let's try our Plus server now. So let's move it. Next. Move the virtual machine. Next. Browse. Let's type in Dell. Have it check the name. Next. Click OK. Next. Move the virtual machine's data to a single location. We're going to move that to drive P, which is our drive vendor drive pool over on that server. Next. Finish. Then it should prompt me for the network controller. Yes, we need to connect that to the 10 gig vert instead. Next, and finish. And then let's monitor it. All right, so we'll let that move, and then we'll switch over to the other server and see if we can spin those virtual machines up, and if they will start working. So we have got everything moved over to the new server. So let's flip over to that, well, to the new used server, and we'll see them up and running here. So I'm not going to bring these two servers up, Plesk or Windows 7, because I don't need them, but I do need my PBX to be running. So let's go ahead and connect with that, and let's power it on. And let's bring up Drive Vendor here, and we will see. Yep, okay, it's booting, and you can see all the different files that the virtual machine opens under Drive Vendor. I just went ahead and put the virtual hard drive over there on Drive Vendor, on the Drive Vendor pooled drive. Really doesn't make any difference. It's a PBX machine, so the initial, use of the drive will be to boot up the operating system, and then to record, messages, log files, and that kind of thing. So it doesn't need really great throughput. Now the next thing I need to do is move the surveillance software, Blue Iris, over to this machine. But I'm going to wait till after lunch to do that because I'm hungry and I want to go eat some food. So, but there you go. We got the virtual machines moved, and another reason I use Hyper-V in my production network, because, man, it just freaking works. All right, so I've gotten everything moved over to this server now, which is the Dell -710-LP running Windows Server 2019, and all my virtual machines are over here. I've got the PBX system, the free PBX is up and running. It is working. I checked my Plesk server, which is for my web hosting, and my Windows 7, and they're all working fine. Now, in addition to that, I went ahead and got Blue Iris loaded, and it is up and running, and it is running in the background. That's why you see the CPU usage is 13 to 15%. And it's nice to see all those cores in use. And there is my, I'll wave at you here. Let's see if I can, yeah. You probably can't see it, but I waved at you. So here is my Blue Iris up and running, and I've got Blue Iris running as a service right here. So even though I close it here, it stays resident in the background and keeps working. So the next thing to do is let's go over to that R720 server and let's get VMware installed on it and see how successful we're going to be with that. You know, I'm such a moron that sometimes I even amaze myself. The one thing I did not move was LANsweeper. So I'm going to need to package that up and move it over to this server. So I guess I could have you all come along for the ride on that. So let me go do a little research on what I need to do. I need to boot that server back up in the meantime, and then then we can get LANsweeper moved over to this new server. Alright, so I'm going to attempt to move LANsweeper, and I'm going to have to follow the instructions. Okay, so let's go to LANsweeper web console. The first thing we need to do is find out what license or what SQL server we're using. And I think we're using the SQL Compact. Here we go, built-in admin. Here we go. So, let's see what it says here. So it goes to configuration. It says go to configuration. And your LANsweeper license. Let's go here and look. And right now it shows I have SQL Compact. What it says we need to do now, following these instructions, it says to go to Windows Services. So we're going to click on the button and type in Services. Come here. And if you don't use LANsweeper on your home lab, I highly recommend you do. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is find LANsweeper server. So we're going to go here to LANsweeper server, and we're going to stop that. And that'll log everybody out, so that's fine. The next thing we need to do is we need to find the IIS Express server. So that'll be up above here, HII Express. So we need to stop that as well. All right, so I've stopped those services, so I need to go to the program files x86 LANsweeper, and I'm looking for SQL data, and there's my database file. So that I want to copy. So we're going to copy that over to the applications, to the LANsweeper. I believe I have a folder here, yes, so there we go. And I'm going to paste that. Actually, let's create a folder called SQL Backup. And we'll paste that file there. Now the next thing I need to do is go see if I have that encryption file. And so we'll go to Program Files x86 LANsweeper. We'll go to Key. And yes, if it exists, create a backup of the following file as well. LANsweeper key encryption.txt. So we'll copy that. We'll copy that over here to LANsweeper. Paste that there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and shut down this server now because we don't need it up and running anymore. And then we will come back over to the low power Dell. So let me find that right here. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do what's called a easy install of LANsweeper on this unit. Now I could, if I were smart, which I'm not, if I would create a virtual machine just to run LANsweeper, but yeah, it's fairly trivial to reinstall LANsweeper, so I'm not going to worry about that. Now I'm using version 7, that's one I prefer. So let me come here to LANsweeper, and we'll do a LANsweeper setup 7. I believe it requires, well, let's see. It should install the whatever components are required. It says .NET Framework 4.6 is required. But if I remember correctly, this thing will install whatever dependencies it needs. Here we go. So I'm going to click on next. I accept the agreement next. We're going to do an easy install next. Website port is going to be 82 and 83 because I already have a web server running on here for Blue Iris. Alright, so according to LANsweeper install, we have got it installed. So I'm going to click on finish. And then it's probably going to, it's going to bring up a web browser. I have not installed Chrome or anything on here. I'm not going to worry about unlocking my installation right now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back here to services. And I'm going to turn off the LANsweeper service. So we're going to stop that. We're also going to stop the IIS. Yeah, IIS Express. We'll stop that. And then I'm going to go to my backup, and I'm going to copy my files back to where they belong. So I'm going to open another File Explorer window here. And we'll come over to C drive, go to the LANsweeper, and go to the SQL data. Let's do this then. We'll just come over to Rivendell. Go to applications. I don't know why it does that. Windows Explorer does that every once in a while. And I've never been too concerned about getting to the root of why it's happening. Okay, so there's the database. Now the next thing we need to do is copy the key back over. So we'll copy this over. Replace the file, continue. Now, I should be able to start those two services back again. Let me check my notes here. I don't know if I start this one first and then the LANsweeper. Let's find out. And will it have kept my key, my key that enables LANsweeper? Okay, it looks like it's started. So let's actually go into the console. Now, LANsweeper always takes a while to load the initial web page. I don't know why, it just does. Let's see, built-in admin. And will you looky there? Looks like all my stuff is still there. Yay. So let's go over to configuration. Oop. Go over to configuration, your LANsweeper license. Yay. It sees my limited trial. It sees it all there. Yay. Cool. That is good. That is good news indeed. So we now have LANsweeper up and running. So everything should now be transferred over. And looky there. That's what I like to see, is all those CPU cores in use. Isn't that lovely? So we're over on the Dell R720. Now I need to do a couple of things on this. The first thing I need to do is power it on. And now I'm going to come in and disable this controller in the BIOS. The other reason I'm doing that is because the ESXI 7 is not going to see that controller anyway. I have an SSD drive in here plugged into the SATA controller. So let me click on that. Integrated devices. There we go. I'm going to disable the integrated RAID controller because I am not going to need it. I'm going to click on finish. Yes. Okay. Click on finish. Yes. Now it's going to reboot. And I'm going to go ahead and connect virtual media while it's doing that. And I'm going to choose an image file on my local C drive. And that's going to be the VMware. Map it. Okay, cool. And you can see now it's mapped. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to boot off of that mapped device. And you can see it keeps it up here in the window as well. So let's see, is it F11? Okay, F11 BIOS Boot Manager. Good. All right, so I'm going to go to the BIOS boot menu. And I'm going to do virtual CD. Enter. And then we're going to boot ESXI. All right, so we're ready to enter to continue to install. And F11, it's warning us that it's probably going to warn us that the future processors might not be supported. So get my little window moved here. So I got a couple of choices. I have an SSD drive in there, but that's where my Windows Server 2019 is installed, so I don't want to overwrite that. What I want to do is select the Kingston 8 gigabit USB key I have plugged into the front of the unit, and eventually I'll move that inside, but I just didn't feel like pulling the unit out of the rack, so we're going to enter on that one. And it's going to warn us that the existing disk will be overwritten. So we'll press enter. OK. Default keyboard. We're going to enter our super secret password. You can probably hear the click, click, click of my dog walking into the room. Forgot to close the door. Now it may come up and warn us, yeah, the CPU may not be supported in future releases, so just be aware of that. Going to hit enter to continue and F11 to install. This is going to take some time. All right, so the install is successful. We're going to hit enter to reboot. And our virtual media is still connected, so what we're going to do is wait until it reboots. Or until it looks like it's rebooting. Okay, now it's rebooting. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the virtual media. We're not going to need that anymore. I do need to wait till the Dell screen comes up and get ready to hit the F11 key to select the boot device, because now that we have two bootable devices, we need to, by default, I think it's going to boot off the internal hard drive, or the internal SSD. So I want to make sure that I'm telling it to boot off the front USB instead. So we'll have to be ready for that. And so we'll do F11. All right, so we're going to go into the BIOS boot menu. And then we should be able to choose, we'll go down to hard drive, and this time we'll choose the front USB, hit enter, and if all goes well, we should boot into VMware. install is complete. It's getting a DHCP address, so we want to change that to a hard-coded address, so we'll do that next. So let's go ahead and get that set up. I'm going to hit F2. I'm going to log in with the super secret password we created earlier. And we're going to go down to configure the management network, IPv4. We're going to come down here and we're going to hit the space bar to select static IPv4 address. We're going to enter that. It's going to be 168.5.11. Everything else looks good, so we'll hit enter. Then we're going to come down to DNS. And we're going to come down and select use the following DNS server. Hit the space bar. 5.1 is correct. Now I'm going to turn my caps lock on. I'm going to hit ESXI 7. Oh, sorry, I may have already had my caps lock on. ESXI 7 dash Dell 720 is going to be my DNS name. And then I'll hit enter. Then I'm going to escape out, apply the management changes and restart. And go back all the way to the main screen. And now we're at 5.11. So let's see if we can actually log into this server. All right, so we're at the login screen. That's a good sign. And our super secret password. And yes, we're going to join the VMware Customer Improvement Program. I'm not going to say my password. So you can see we're on the Dell ESXI, we're on the PowerEdge R720 server. We're using the customized image from Dell. We got some vulnerability warnings. Now the first thing I want to do is go up on the time and date and enter our time and date settings to use NTP. We're going to start and stop with a host. We're going to be pool.ntp.org. Is the server I'm going to use. Actually, it's a pool of servers. Save that. Then we're going to come up here to, there we go. Now it still shows it stopped. So we need to come here to services and start the NTP service. Hopefully that'll work. Yes, it worked. So let's come back here to manage. Let's go to time and date. Good. It's getting time and date, and it's starting and stopping. Let's just make sure. Starting and stopping with the host. So that's a good thing. So there we go. It's up and running. And the server is also now dual booting. I can boot into Windows Server 2019. So I can run it as that, or I can use it as an ESXi host. So the next thing to do will be to get this server updated. So I'm going to come here to manage. I'm going to go to services, and I'm going to make sure I have SSH enabled. I'm going to start the service TSM SSH because I'm going to need that. It says it was successfully started. And it's telling us SSH is enabled on this host. You should disable it if you don't need it. So let's see if I can go out now and run an update on this host. So I'm going to use a program called MOBA Xterm. I like this program a lot, and you'll see why here in a second. 11. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Then I'm going to log in as root with my super secret password. And bingo. Now, I need to run a command to upgrade this, and it's going to bomb on me, I'm pretty sure. So let me go find the article, and you can come along with me. Let's see how to update NUV. I'm using Tinkertry's notes. So the command line I'm going to use is this one right here. Now, make sure you do a backup of your server before you use that command. You don't want to break anything. I'm just going to go ahead and dump it in there. Now, this is going to take quite a while to run. because it's got to go out and check out a bunch of stuff. And I'm pretty sure it's going to bomb because this processor may not be supported in future releases. So we may have to append a message to the end of that in order to get this update to work. So yeah, I have expected this. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste that command there again, and I'm going to enter --no dash. I'll have to look at my notes here. Let's see, no dash hardware dash warning. Orbing? Warning. So you put this in there and the update should then go off without a hitch. Again, it's going to take a few minutes for this to run. Now, it's probably going to come back with another error that it could not update the bootloader. But I think that's an error we can ignore. So as expected, we've got the error message that it failed to update the bootloader. But I think we're going to be okay. So we're going to go ahead and exit out of here. And we're going to go back to our web interface if we can. Let's refresh that. Log in as root. And log in. Now we're still on build 7. What we need to do now is we need to restart this server. So I'm going to go ahead and reboot it. We'll give it a few minutes. We'll come back and check it and see if it was successful in updating to version 7.0U1. So I just want to make this clear again because I'm dual booting this server. I have to go into my BIOS boot menu and I have to select the right device to boot from. Remember, I can boot into Windows Server 2019, which would be the internal hard drive, right? The embedded serial ATA drive, the SSD. Or for ESXi, I have to boot into the front USB. So keep that in mind if you're dual booting your servers like I'm doing. Once you've done the update and reboot, you have to come back in and select the right boot device. Don't forget that, or you'll boot into Windows and you won't know that your update has worked. So there you go. We'll let this boot. All right, so let's log in and see if we're going to be successful. Oh, let's see. Unhandled exception details. Okay, yeah. Reload. That may have been because we didn't refresh the browser. All right, so it looks like we're now running version 7.0 update 1, so that's good. The image profile, as you can see here, has been updated. ESXi 7.0U1A-17119627 standard Dell Incorporation. And it looks like all is well. Let's make sure our time and date have started. They have. They're running. So we got that set up correctly. So yeah, it looks like we're good. So there you go, folks. We did it. We made it happen. It was long. There were lots of steps involved, but it was kind of fun. And now we've got that server serving us with a dual purpose. It can be both a VMware server and a Hyper-V server. So the best of both worlds. We can use that server moving forward in all of our lab series of videos. I'm doing the VMware labs right now, but I'm going to be doing a Hyper-V lab and a XCPNG lab as well. So we've got all those videos coming up here in the next few weeks. So you got that to look forward to. And then I'm going to show you how we set up virtual labs within those servers. So that'll be a lot of fun. I know I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, if you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up down below. Leave your comments down in the comments section. Donate if you're so inclined. We take PayPal, Patreon, and the YouTube join button. And all that money gets put back into the channel so we can get new products in for review, buy new servers, that kind of thing. So we hope you've enjoyed the show. Come back and see us again. And please don't forget to subscribe and like. I know I said that before, but I want to reiterate it. I find that about 40% of our viewers are subscribers. So those of you that haven't subscribed, please do so. And don't forget, we'll see all of you on the other side.